There's a couple of missiles. We have the Strike Force 2, which is a cross-section missile, a size 2 missile, and they only cost... 25 each, so totaling 50 there. Pretty cheap in comparison. But the total cost for the components and the weaponry is 53,950 United Earth credits. Now that's just for the default weapons, the ordnance, plus the 4 components and doubling them up in where needed. The components that are not yet available to purchase include quantum fuel tanks, jump modules, regular fuel tanks, fuel intakes, computers and radars, not to mention an array of more of different weapons and so forth. Now I'm unsure of the cost of each of these other items, but I would assume the cost will be somewhere around the 2,000 to 15,000 United Earth credits mark, with some requiring dual components. That would lead me to believe that for a ship like an Aurora LX, a very basic, simple ship, fitted with default components and weapons, you are looking at a cost of over 100,000 United Earth credits just for the parts alone, not to mention the cost of manufacturing or actually them making a profit on it. Now the point of this video is to help you understand better what the ship prices will likely be in the game once the option to purchase arrives in 3.3. Getting to understand your ship and what goes into them now will give you a head start when it comes to knowing what and when to upgrade. Also understanding what each component does and what to look for when shopping will be very beneficial. That said, I also created this video because it's just a lot of fun flying around the verse and gathering the information from each dumper's depot about the components and figuring out what components you already own from when you first purchased your new ship. I may even take a look at what it costs to outfit my Caterpillar next, because I'm sure that's going to be a lot more expensive. But I do suggest that next time you're playing 3.2, take a look at your ship components via the Moby Glass and check out what's available. Start this now and then become adept in ship engineering when the game is released. But as mentioned earlier, I will create a video explaining more about what component stats mean and what to look for when choosing the right fit if you wanted to upgrade it or go a specific route like stealth. But with that said, thank you so much for watching. It's just a kind of fun video this. Be sure to hit that thumbs up if you did like it. Also let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on components, pricing. Not to mention we will be getting sub-components which go into your components. There's a lot more coming. Be sure to follow me over here on YouTube. Follow me over on Twitch at SuperMacBrothersRyan. Twitter and Instagram as well. I love you all. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you next time.
Træt af underlige domænenavne og e-mailadresser, der er svære at huske? Det behøver du ikke være. Hos One.com kan du selv vælge dit domænenavn og lige så mange unikke e-mailadresser, som du har behov for. Hos One.com vælger du dit eget domænenavn og får et ubegrænset antal e-mailkonti. Start med at lave din egen hjemmeside med vores brugervenlige webeditor. Du kan også nemt og sikkert gemme og dele filer i dit eget foto- og videogalleri. One.com har høj stabilitet og masser af plads til en meget lav pris. Med mere end 1 million kunder, der nyder vores fantastiske service, mener vi, at vi har den bedste webhosting-løsning for dig. One.com. Enkel webhosting.
Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen with some more info on the salvage mechanic and the Vulture small salvage vessel. We should be getting the first implementation of salvage mechanics in 3.3 in September, including salvage scanning, the ability to identify debris that could be salvaged, salvage extraction, the ability to collect debris from wrecks and planets, salvage processing, the ability to break down debris into its component parts, and then salvage buying and selling to traders. These systems should be designed to accommodate players who are on foot or in a ship as well. The Vulture's not going to be ready for 3.3 or this year, so bear that in mind. Multi-tool and the Reclaimer are the likely sort of like first implementations of the mechanics for salvage. In the recent Vulture Q&A, we learned a lot more for what the plans for the mechanics are and about the Vulture 2. Scanning down salvage. So all ships will have scanning abilities, and certain ships such as the Vulture and the Reclaimer, have enhanced scanners specifically suited to scanning down salvage in a potentially similar way as the Prospector finds ore. Any ship with a large enough space can store stripped parts, weapons, and items detached from other ships. Players can literally EVA out and detach these items, potentially using the multi-tool to cut them off and/or salvage charges to blow bits off the ships. The Vulture is equipped for the whole process though, scraping, processing, and ship breaking down, which will maximize its profit for your trips versus just grabbing components alone. Dedicated salvage scanners as well will allow you to identify components and their state much more easily than non-dedicated ships. So whilst you could strip every item out of an abandoned ship into a cutlass, 90% of them could be such low value that a vulture that was identifying which was worth grabbing could return the same sort of like profit with just 10% of the particular items and salvage that you'd want to grab. An example would be using mining in 3.2. Players can just fracture and extract every rock in sight, but without scanning and reviewing their composition and choosing which ones you actually want to mine, returns would be a lot lower versus a player who significantly targets the higher value assets. Like mining, salvage will have gameplay mechanics. When you are salvaging, it won't be a simple click and leave mechanic. There may be risks. Skill at performing it well and effectively will give you better profits and be potentially safer. Components salvaged from a ship are extremely unlikely to be in a pristine condition, and their value will drop appropriately, presuming you can find a buyer willing to accept those items in that condition in the first place. On the flip side, processed and compacted raw materials from salvage will be readily bought by most manufacturing plants and refineries. There was also some very specific vulture informations too. The vulture has no specific additional synergy with any particular ship. However, players might find interesting uses for the ship, like potentially again reversing the vulture into the front of a caterpillar for offloading salvage more easily, assuming that it fits when it's actually built. They have previously talked about ships with tractor beams, helping bring salvage or mining materials towards a particular ship, and other cargo ships and manpower could obviously be used for larger salvage operations. Every vulture comes equipped with a multi-tool that can be used for welding and cutting of objects, alongside a full complement of salvage charges. The vulture has 12 SCU in cargo space compared to the Prospector's 128 on paper, but the Prospector can only actually hold 32 SCU at any given time without touching one of its saddlebags. That 12 SCU that the vulture has is for both little compressed cubes of salvage, which obviously get processed in your ship and then deposited into your cargo bay, but also scavenged items, so literally weapons and stuff that you've taken off other ships. You might be able to store cargo and other bits and bobs and weapons and things